Hey, how's it going, everybody? It is Jazzy of Video Store Sasquatch here, and we are doing our Throwback Thursday. We're going to take it all the way back to 1980 something here. We have three movies from the 80s. We will start with The Cannonball Run, directed by Hal Needham, starring Burt Reynolds, Roger Moore, and Farrah Fawcett. A wide variety of eccentric competitors participate in a wild and illegal cross country road race. However, the eccentric entrants will do anything to win the road race, including low down, dirty tricks. Dom DeLuise in this, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Terry Bradshaw, Jackie Chan, Peter Fonda, so many other people that you kind of blink and you miss. Everyone that really is in this movie. It is based on a true story. It was like some type of car club that decided that when they posted a national speed limit of like 55 on the highways, not the interstate, I believe it's the highways, that was too slow and that good drive and their basic conclusion was that good drivers could definitely drive above the speed limit and be completely fine. So they start in New York and they go all the way down to California. Discovery Channel, Richard whatever from the car show that they have, the garage show. Um, he did this 1 year as part of the Discovery Channel, and they average around like 100 like 15 miles an hour or whatever. And it's kind of funny to think in 1980 that they were complaining about a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit when like Texas or in a lot of states, I believe even other states are 85 to 90 miles an hour. So imagine of how much has changed since then. It is a funny movie. Burt Reynolds is classic in this. Dom DeLuise is one of the most funny people I've ever seen. I don't know like how much movies I've actually seen with him in and paid attention with him, but he is very funny in this and worth the watch. Dean Martin and Sammy Davis is their little um, priest uh, cover is hilarious. Terry Bradshaw's funny. It was just cool to see Jackie Chan pop up. Roger Moore plays a kind of like a funny version of himself, just a very exaggerated version of himself, where he is also a superstar spy in real life, just like he was when he was playing James Bond. So that's kind of funny throughout it. The guy that's going against them for the main speed is AJ Foyt. Another little kind of funny joke. This is off the wall. It's a true story, like how Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise got through the country using the ambulance is actually true. That's how these people that did this in the car club got through the 1 year. Is they were thinking like who doesn't get stopped by the police, and they came to the conclusion that the ambulance will never be stopped by the police, and that is how this whole thing came about. They hired a female to play uh, uh, patient, and a doctor brought in with this little coat and everything like this, and they were taking them to California, and they couldn't fly because of cyst or whatever. And they said in the show, I don't know if they ever really clarified if they got pulled over in real life. I watched the whole documentary on it. This is one of those movies that I've been really wanting to watch for a long time, but never could find an actual copy of it, and I finally did, and I did enjoy it. It was hilarious. That is the Cannonball Run, directed by Hal Needham. Well, let's go into the money real quick. Release is June 19th of 1981. Had a budget of 18 million, an opening of 11, and a gross worldwide of 72.1 million. And we're talking about gross worldwide. We're really talking about just America here, to be honest with you. And that is crazy number. Think about it in 81. That's probably what 4 times now. So this has been a $250 million movie today. So yes, this is definitely worth the watch. And that was the Cannonball Run, directed by Hal Needham. Um, the second movie we have here is also from 1980, 1980s, The Hollywood Nights, directed by Floyd Mutrez, starring Robert Wool, Tony Danza, and Michelle Pfeiffer. Led by their comedic leader Turk, the Hollywood Nights Car Club raises hell throughout Beverly Hills on a Halloween night in 1965. Fran Drescher is also in this. Mike Bender, Gaylord Sarton. There's a bunch of people in this movie from back in the day. This is actually Michelle Pfeiffer, Tony Danza, and Robert Wool's movie debut, I believe. Reading that in this, crazy. Three pretty big stars there. I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer, probably one of the biggest. Tony Danza, so we all know Robert Wool from our list. So that is there. Fran Drescher, like I said. Really young in this, came out May 30th, 1980, had a budget of 4 million and it grossed $10 million. This is one of those kind of funny, quirky, like teen comedy movies that you hear about from the 80s, and like everything that you hear about from the 80s and is exactly wrapped up into this movie, but set in 1965. It's really off the wall, really off the wall funny. Um, and it basically plays through a night, so it really does a really good job of just kind of like going from scene to scene as we're like playing through the night of all these characters and all these people together. The one cop, Gaylord, or Gay, yeah, Gaylord is Sarton. He's in so many stuff that he's kind of like an '80s mainstay, but he plays such a funny cop in this. That's another thing that like, the cops in all these movies are just so like funny. They're not like serious. They're not like scary or nothing like that. So that's kind of funny. And it's like the teenagers are kind of taking over this whole town in this one specifically. So it is a funny little moment here in time and history. This is especially the way that they portrayed the police, especially the local police. And from city to city, I'm sure this is like a Los Angeles or like a New York. It'd be a lot more serious and drastic because this is a bigger city, and that's how they expect that to be. But it is Beverly Hills, so it is right off the area there. The the guy's name is Bimbo, which is kind of funny. There's a lot of good part. I mean, I don't think about none of this movie would have made it through to today's times, but that's what kind of makes these movies good and kind of part of their own originality here in the 1980s. So definitely check it out if you have a chance. That is the Hollywood Nights, directed by Floyd Mutrez. Um, and the last one here from the 1980s is Up the Creek, directed by Robert Butler, starring Tim Matheson, Jennifer Runyon, and Stephen First. Bob McGraw in his 12th year of college, goofing his way through life until he has to win a river rafting race with three college buddies. I wouldn't even say they're buddies. I think they just all kind of got roped in by the dean there. This movie is hilarious. Tim Matheson is so funny in this, and like, especially seeing some of the characters that he kind of grew up to be, it perfectly puts him here. Of course, they're trying to play mostly off of the one movie from back in the day. That's the most famous movie that I can't think of all of a sudden. But they're trying to play off that with Tim Matheson here, and I believe Stephen First is in this as well. This is a funny movie. I mean, it's like one of those most like outrageous 1980s over exaggerated like comedy style slapstick that you can get. It came out April 6th, 1984, had an opening of 3.2 million and a gross of 11.7 million. The premises of this movie itself, though, is so funny because the dean wants this loser who's never done anything to amount to anything to take over for him in this white rafting just to give him a degree and get him out of the school, which is kind of hilarious. But why would you like pick like the four weakest students that you have? Because he even mentions that the four worst students in the whole entire nation, and they're trying to use them for to win a competition. I don't think that's the people I would choose on my campus. It's just outrageously 80s fun. There's so many just like classic like exploding dart stuff, and like it even have its time stuff with like early versions of remote control planes and stuff like this being used to drop off explosives on the rafts on from the one team. And then it is really well done. You kind of see where some of the movies take from this movie into today's times and the 90s times. That is Up the Creek, directed by Robert Butler. Those are our movies for today. Our box office report, real quick before we move on to Better Call Saul, and this Better Call Saul probably pretty fast this week. Gross Hoppers at 28.7 million, 95.8 total, and Reminders of Him, which I believe is a movie that came out this week at 18 million. All together for the weekend. And Undertone, also a horror movie that released this week, had a 9.3 release. It was kind of an underground release. I'll probably look forward to watching that eventually, and that is Undertone 9.3 million. So that's kind of our deal there. I did not go see a movie this weekend because I just was not interested really in anything, at least to get me to go to the movie theaters. And plus, I had bought a video game, and I did enjoy playing the video game all weekend, so that is what I did. But we are going this weekend. We probably will be going to two because I want to see the Ryan Gosling movie, but I'm definitely going to go see Ready or Not 2. I already have the ticket, and we will have the review up tomorrow night after I go see it. So look forward to that as our box office report. And now we're going to go into Better Call Saul here. We are on season 3, episode 8, The Fall. 6/12/2017 is when it came out. It is June 12th, 2017. Jimmy is visiting an old Sandpiper resident about the settlement. He's trying to cash out as fast as possible, everything going on. So he is trying to convince the lady to take the lump sum of the settlement. So that's pretty much what this whole episode is him trying to convince these ladies to settle so that he can get his money. He even, at one point in time, meets with Howard. Howard pretty much calls him out on it. And the secondary story here is Howard asked Chuck to leave the law firm, pretty much a forced retirement because of the insurance problem that Jimmy brought to them. And Kim is meeting with her Mesa Verde, the client that Mesa Verde set her up, the oil company here. And we kind of see her go off the walls as well while this is happening. And then Gus and Hector. Um, our meeting, and he's told that everything will be moved through again. Hector is told that everything will be moved through Gus. He's not very happy about it. Let's see. Jimmy's at the strip mall walking, hoping to get a residence from the clients, get them to settle. Yeah, so that's like I said, he's just back in there trying to get in there, and then Kim is preparing for her meeting with the oil company, and Jimmy walks in and tells her Sandpiper is settling. She falls asleep at the wheel and gets into an accident at the end of this episode. That is like a dangerous thing to do. I couldn't imagine that. That would suck if you have to fall asleep at the wheel and then like kind of wake up and you're already into your passenger bag or your whatever your airbag. Would not be a good time. Season 3, episode 10. Lanterns is the end of the season here for 10, for episode 3. And that came out July 19th, or not July, June 19th, 2017. Chuck is reading Jimmy a story in a tent when they were kids. And I would definitely say from this point on that foreshadowing with the lantern was there. And it's kind of like for everybody here because the lantern's burning so bright at the end of it. It's like, well, are you putting too much oil in it and all this stuff? And like, are you burning it too much? And that's kind of like the questions with Kim here, the questions with Jimmy here, and Chuck are the same. So it's kind of like a metaphor and a foreshadowing event for here because especially at the end of what we see eventually of this episode is definitely a foreshadowing thing. Kim is in the hospital after accident, and Jimmy is there. Jimmy is picking up her documents at the crash site while Kim watches in the car. Howard is having a meeting with Chuck about the lawsuit. Howard and him are alone, and Howard pretty much tells him to fuck off and buys him out. And, like he wasn't gonna have it from Chuck. He knows what was going on with Chuck the whole time, and he knows that. So not very good. After the accident, Jimmy basically blames himself for all of it and is trying to take care of him the best that, of course, Jimmy can, and he's really beating himself up over it. Hector arrives at Nacho's dad's shop. Hector tracks down his dad and offers money, and Nacho checks his dad. Basically, Nacho's like, "You gotta take this, dad," and it's a crazy scenario here. Hector is a bad guy. Now he's all up in Tancho's life, which is not good. Chuck spirals after a meeting with Jimmy. And of course, if you have seen this, which I had not, so I did not see this coming at all 100%, Chuck kills himself at the end of this by burning down his house. So that is where we leave off here. We open in the Cinnabon. Okay, so now we're on season 4. Episode 1 is Smoke. And see, I can see how when you're watching it live that it's starting to get in the problems areas because the first two seasons are in early of the year, so from February or wherever to start February or March, both start. Then the season 3, all of a sudden we're kind of more into the middle of that kind of run there, and then all of a sudden now we're into August, so we're into the summer kind of time slot with this show. I think that was kind of one of the problems of trying to keep up with this show for AMC was just knowing around the time when it was going to come out, and plus COVID, obviously, because 2018 is where we're at, and I'm sure they're going to take off a year next year, and we're going to start seeing 2020 on the end date of these episodes because of the lockdowns. Opening Cinnabon, and Jimmy is waking up from passing out. This is season 4, episode 1, Smoke. Came out August 6th in 2018. Opened the Cinnabon. James is waking up from passing out, and the MTMs are working on him. He gets checked in the hospital. And when he's checked in, at the end of it, the attendant's like, "What's going on?" I can't seem to do it. And she was actually messing up. So that was actually a point where Jimmy was very scared there, or Saul, or whoever you want him to be, was very scared there. Jimmy waking up, getting ready for the day, and heading out to the newspaper. He does not know about Chuck yet. He finds out about Chuck through Howard and races over to the house. Mike's last day as a parking attendant. He goes in to visit his granddaughter and his daughter-in-law. Howard reads Jimmy and Chuck's obituary that he had wrote. Goes back to Chuck and Nacho killing after, goes back to Chuck and Nacho talking after and sent to the hospital. Gus talks to him to see the boss, to tell him that he is the boss no matter what. And Mike goes into the magical warehouse and Rex's house and even tells the team leader how to do his job. Basically, Gus got him this fake job, and Mike is taking it serious to try and launder money. It's very funny how he kind of handled the whole situation too. Um, and that is season 4 of Zood. Did I like miss an episode here? Episode 1, Howard Reeves, Breathe. Okay, yeah, I got it. So season 4, episode 2, Breathe. It came out August 13th of 2018. Hector, this was really a filler episode. It had so much to kind of catch up with the end of last season and the beginning of this season. It's just kind of filling kind of where we're at character development wise. Hector's in the hospital room. And Gus's guys are checking on him. Kim walking up to Jimmy and rushes out of the apartment to look for a job. Or Jimmy waking up to Jimmy. Kim waking up to Jimmy and he rushes out of the apartment to look for a job. Nacho and his father talk about everything that happened. Jimmy interviews for a job, doesn't go well. Then he sells himself, and after he sells himself, he's like ready to walk out. It's like it's just really a lot of character development. Chuck had cut Jimmy out of the will without actually doing it, so leaving him a minimum amount of money. We find out, and then in the very end of the episode, we find out that Gus knows that Nacho is the one reason why Hector kind of died or had a stroke or stroked out at the end of last season. So he has basically told Nacho that I know what's going on, and I now own you after killing his other buddy in front of him. So that is going to be a very major turning point for this season because now Gus is in full control. He is running Mike. He is running Nacho, and pretty soon he'll be running Saul Goodman. I am sure of it. I'm just waiting for that moment. So that is our recap for Better Call Saul. We're getting there. This is a great show. Honestly, I'm really enjoying it. I thought Breaking Bad was very well done, even though I don't really 100% believe the premises behind it, even though I guess it could be true. This one I do enjoy a lot more. I think that Bob Odenkirk's a better narrator or storyteller or kind of character to follow with Saul Goodman than Walter White, but that is my opinion, and we all have our own opinions. We will be doing live stuff. We finally have enough people on Facebook, so it will be soon. It'll probably be this weekend sometime where I do something live for a little bit, and we just kind of see what we're going to do there, and then we can always figure out more and more. So thank you guys very much for joining, and thank you guys very much for watching, and please have a good rest of your day or night.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Comment your top movie picks for Throwback Thursday in the comment section. And see you next time in the cave.